let's set this up so that when we update the file, when we download a file into OneDrive, that it automatically goes and refreshes the Power BI for us. So first we're going to create, and then we're going to do automated cloud flow. I'm going to skip this so I can show you each step. We are going to name this something descriptive. In this case, when a file is updated in OneDrive reference, that's the folder, the reference folder, refresh Power BI, So anytime that the file updates in OneDrive, we want it to go out to Power BI and refresh that report. So first of all, we're going to add a trigger. We're going to find OneDrive because that'll help us narrow down our triggers. We want OneDrive for business because this is not just generic OneDrive. This is OneDrive for business, and we can see the multiple options here, and we want when the file is modified. So here we need to pick the folder, and we're going to find that reference folder where we're storing all of our attachments. So we go and find reference. We don't need to include subfolders, and we do want to infer content type. So those are good. Now, it is checking once a minute. We could back that off, but for now, since we're going to be testing, we'll leave it at 1. And so that trigger is going to fire anytime a file is modified in the reference folder. But now we want to get the details about that file. So we're going to look for metadata. And there is an action on OneDrive for Business called Get File Metadata. And this allows us to get things like the name of the file that changes, the size of the file. Here we're going to use what's called the file identifier. This is what this action step needs in order to get metadata. And that file identifier comes from the preceding step. So it passes that down. It passes the file identifier down to get file metadata. So we've inserted that there, and we can go ahead and close this. So now we're going to, with that file metadata, we're going to do a branching option. So we go under Control and pick Switch, because depending on the file that has updated it, we want to update the Power BI that corresponds. So we're going to come in here, and we've gathered the file metadata, and we're going to look at the file name. So when that file name gets passed down, we want it to go to a different branch of code. So depending on the file name, we're going to branch to a different option. And this first one, default, this is just where it goes when it can't find anything. So we have to add a case. So in this situation, the case is going to be the file name. So I'm going to go back and find what that file name is. So the file name we're going to paste in here. This is that file that gets downloaded, and it's score and results download to OneDrive retirement 2024.xlsx. That's the file name that we're looking for. So anytime that file is updated, and we'll also name the case that to make it easier to tell. Anytime that file is updated, we want to update Power BI. So let's look up Power BI and look for an action that has to do with updating. So we're going to say see more and scroll down here and refresh a dataset. So we're going to pick refresh a dataset. We're going to go to our workspace for Cornerstone Reporting, and we're going to pick the dataset for this report, which is Retirement 2023. I know the 2023, 2024, I kind of got those file names off, but that now, and we'll name this a little more descriptively, 2023 dataset. Now that is set up, but we've still got this default branch. If it doesn't pick that file, we want it to terminate. So I'm going to search for terminate and pick terminate. But we don't want it to say it failed. We want it to say that it, well, let's see, what are the options? That it was canceled. So it didn't find, or the file that updated wasn't the one we were looking for, so it was canceled. So on one side, the file we were looking for was found, and so we refresh the dataset. On the other side, it terminates. And now, by doing it this way, we can expand this. So in the future, we can click that plus, and we can add another file. I'm going to also name everything more descriptively. So switch based on file name, the metadata from the source file, and when the file is modified in the reference folder, we want that to go on there. So now we've set it up, and any time that that file is downloaded, it will trigger this Power Automate that will then refresh the Power BI report based on that item. So we're going to save this, save it. You can do the flow checker just to make sure there's no errors. And so yeah, so now this is set up that it should run, and now we can test this. So I'm going to make a small little change to the file. So I'm going to open up this file, and I'm just going to change my name so that it considers this file to be modified. I could have done this on OneDrive as well on the website. And then we're going to wait. So if we refresh, we can see it is running. It's running right this second. So let's open it up and see what's going on. So if we look at the flow, oh, it found it. It switched based on the file name, and it successfully refreshed the data set. There would be a red X instead of a green check mark if any of those things failed. So we know that it worked. Now let's look at the report, and if we go to the related content, we can see that it did successfully report a refresh when it was changed, when the file was changed.